You know, it's funny because really 99, I think, for Sonoma County with Pinot Noir, really. I mean, I would have gone through Pinot Noir and the parts that I have around the cellar. We could be talking about Pinot Noir, but we can talk about Pinot Noir anytime because Sonoma County is Pinot Noir, just like Cabernet and Napa Valley are one in one. It's the kind of the grape here that has become something big, but Zinfandel too, and that's where we're going to taste Zinfandel next. Is what landed this whole area and Napa Valley too was Zinfandel, so that's a little bit different.
Did you call it? You're the one who named it California Sweetheart Grape, right? Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't me, but it is actually Zinfandel.
You didn't take credit for that.
I did not. Even though I have used that reference very often, it actually is the California grape of California is Zinfandel, believe it or not. And if you look at if you look up like our flowers, the poppy and everything, the grape is actually Zinfandel. And it's interesting, you know, that here in California we have so many things. You could talk all you want about Pinot and Cab and everything, but they weren't here first. Zinfandel was, and that's what makes it special. So no, I mean, I think that really what you and I have seen here, and especially around that 1999, and how it really was when the big plantings of Pinot started. They weren't, Pinot wasn't known, and believe me, remember, think about how good this is, that Sideways, the movie, comes out in 2004, and we are producing great Pinot Noirs already. They're so from young vines. I mean, like, we were ready. Somehow, they must have timed that launch of that movie around us.
Who knows? Because the bud break, that's actually perfect timing.
Yeah.
Man, I remember I was in Santa Nella, right? Or Santa Ynez.
Santa Ynez, one of my great areas.
And Sideways had been out for a while, and of course they were leveraging that with the tourists, and they had signs all over the place that said "As seen in Sideways," that kind of thing. And I remember being in a winery, I can't remember which, maybe Foxton or something interesting like that there, and this character was asking how to get to Coppola, and I thought, what the hell's this guy? What? And I realized what he was thinking was wine movie, filmmaker, Francis Ford Coppola, ergo Coppola must be near, right? He'd put all those things together in his mind. I'm like, dude, you're 500 miles away. You know? So, anyway.
So this is the second wine that we're going to taste is based on Zinfandel. So once again, we will not talk about Pinot right now, even though I love to talk about Pinot. Don't worry about that. And Chardonnay and Cabs and everything that we have down here in the cellar. But the fact is, this is another one that I pulled out just for Daedalus and I to taste right now. This is actually Ravenswood and the great Joel Peterson and the wonderful team there. You know, they made so many ones that you tasted from Dry Creek and Sonoma County Blend and all these kinds of things. This was my favorite vineyard of them all. And no one really knows the story behind this because they never really got the chance to get any of this wine. And I used to get Joel and call him up and say, dude, I need some more of that. It's because of a time that I went on a press trip there. And we went up to the Wood, this is Ravenswood, 2001 Cooke Vineyard. So Cooke Vineyard, and it does have an E at the end of Cooke. This goes way back into a gentleman that was part of the military back in the amazing days of politics, and a guy called Nixon that you might remember. But this is a fact that this gentleman, Mr. Cooke, moved to Sonoma County and moved to Sonoma in particular and bought a piece of property that's up on a hillside that is kind of known for old vine Zinfandel, but he had no dirt. This is a problematic thing. He loves Zinfandel, but he had no dirt.
Well, what do you mean by no dirt? I mean, he had land.
There was like it was hardcore rock. It had a pan on top of it that was about 6 inches deep of dirt, and there was nothing but rock underneath it. It's part of the Mayacamas, and it's actually past the old Ravenswood. It's just up on the hill not off of Garricky, which is the old Ravenswood property, but it's actually above it, kind of facing Sonoma from the east looking west.
So he had a mountain with rock with like dirt frosting.
There was nothing. There was really nothing there. So this is a great story about the great Phil Couturi, and I give Phil Couturi, one of my great legendary farmers, nothing but the greatest credit for this. Phil Couturi knew that this man was affiliated with the military, and he knew he had no soil, and he was passionate about growing some grapes. Phil Couturi is a amazing Grateful Dead fan. Oh, freak. I think he'd even take that as a compliment. And he's an amazing person that I work with, also with the Lassiter Family Wines, and he does that all organic, and he's always been organic in his head. Amazing guy. How did he make dirt where there was no dirt? Well, when you have a military person that has access to certain tools called dynamite, he decided to have him, if he said yes, he could get some dynamite, he would blow some holes in the ground, and he did. And it was so fun to follow this. He, to cover the explosions, he actually played the Grateful Dead very loud, pointed those speakers towards the town of Sonoma, and he did it. So amazing story there, and I've always loved this. I've always loved Joel telling it, Joel Peterson telling it, the great master of Zinfandel, but also Phil Couturi is an amazing guy, and this nose is amazing, isn't it? Do you feel like you're on that mountain right now?
I do, and I think that explosive story you just told made Mickey Hart a much better drummer, I think, than.
Good point.
This is actually more delicate than I expected for this particular.
Yeah, but it has that robust kind of note to it, but it's also those kind of wild chaparral that grows on that mountain. It's very crazy, earthy, and everything. But it's a 2001, you guys. This is 20 years old.
This is crazy.
So we tasted a 25-year-old wine, and we tasted a 20-year-old wine, and they're tasting great. This is really, if you find these little gems. We think about Sonoma County on a big scale. We produce. We're 3 times as big as Napa Valley. And we produce more wines. I mean, between us and Monterey County, you got pretty much the majority of high-end wines produced in these kinds of areas, and Central Coast in general. But, I mean, this is amazing wine, and from a very small site that was blown out, believe it or not. And these vines, I remember going up there with Joel and looking at the vines, they were so measly, even though they were planted like 25 years before that. And they were just measly vines.
And now, I have notes of TNT.
Actually, what I get a lot out of this, though, is this kind of wild sage, also kind of a minty. There's not eucalyptus around it, but it's more of a spearmint kind of note.
God, you have the best palate, I swear. So part of me thinks you're part hypnotist, because anything you say, I instantly taste, right? But it's the precision with which you're able to denote what a taste is that makes me connect the dots. When you said minty, I was like, fringy, and my mind also went to eucalyptus. Spearmint is exactly it. I know exactly what you're talking about now, and it is there.
Well, it's one of those great lessons learned. If you say mint, what does that mean? That's just generic as you get. It's the same thing with, say, cherry. Is it a dark cherry, red cherry, cherry compote, anything? So you just went generic on me in the beginning just by saying cherry. But if you say spearmint, it's actually your thought pattern is going in the right direction, because spearmint and peppermint are very different from one another, as far as I know, and as far as I foresee these kinds of things.
I mean, most people's references will be Wrigley's at this point for spearmint or peppermint, but there is a distinction, and I think you have a very astute way of divining it and expressing it. But yeah, I think that you might create your own tasting wheel with your own sort of points of reference. I know the Davis one has some pretty wild stuff.
The year is young.
But I think you need your own the Sawyer tasting wheel. I think that's the breakthrough, and just put in the things that we think about.
Daedalus. Well, I want to thank Daedalus once again. The Bohemian Magazine awarded me for the 8th straight year, since they've done it for 8 years, the best sommelier of Sonoma County. And Daedalus is a great pal of mine. There's no BS there, because it was the audience that actually voted.
Yeah, congrats to you. I should say I have no interference with this whatsoever. The readers, it's the Reader's Choice Sawyer 8 years in a row. I couldn't mess it up if I tried, right? And so congrats again.
Thank you.
It's a great honor.
I was just with James Dick over at Mustards the other day, and there was one year where we won the acknowledgement together, and I said, hey dude, remember you and me together, and it was just fun. We always appreciate your magazines or your publications. They're actually more newspapers, But the fact is that what we do here in Sonoma County is real, and keeping it real with these great wines and really feeling the feel of Sonoma County is a great. We're lucky to have grown up here, but also to share it with everyone out there, you know, that watches this show and everyone that just is willing to learn about what's happening here on the West Coast. I mean, Sonoma County is for real. And so is Colorado. Don't forget that, because that Stone Cellar is like the real deal. You know, I love those guys, and please look them up. Storm Cellars, the Storm Cellars is their website, but Storm Cellar Wine, I believe, and that's not Cellars, it's Cellar Wine on Instagram is a great site too. And happy Riesling Day to everyone. You guys, Riesling Day is every day, so don't worry about it. But
It's always a reason for Riesling.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks for joining us, you guys, and I really appreciate it. Once again, I want to show you guys these amazing bottles. And Daedalus, thanks for being here once again. And let me just end it by one thing. I did want to say one thing too. I do remember that you did give me a present, and this is actually how I'm going to end it. Pillhead, the movie that Daedalus made, him and
fits
Carrie.
in a tube.
It fits in a tube, and this is a candle that he gave me. I feel really special by holding it right now. And so please check that out too, DaidalusHowell.com. And Daedalus Howell, the editor, and Daedalus Howell, my drinking partner.
Indeed.
Cheerios.
Cheers.
Indeed. Thank you, guys. Cheers.